Air National Guard is, it's a way to have more capability at less cost. So it does have some full-time employee, a lot. The
Mhm.
fighter wing had about 500 full-time employees out of 1,500. Uh,
Wow.
but then most of the pilots, the vast majority of the pilots are part-timers, flying 6 to 8 times a month, right? Um, and most of them are experienced already. I used to always tell kids that wanted to fly the F-15 when they were coming in an interview, I'd say, if we hire you, I expect 5 years of, I expect you to be here 5 years full time, because you can be a good part time fighter pilot. You can be a guy who comes to the unit, 900 hours, 1,200 hours, and you get an airline job and you're flying an F-15 6 times a
Mhm.
month while you're doing your airline job. I think it's impossible for someone to become a good fighter pilot as a part timer. It's just
Okay, right.
it's too much. It's too much, So I want a kid coming out of training. I want him for about 5 years to
Mhm.
before he becomes, you know, I get him upgraded to flight lead and everything else. So the beauty of the guard is you can be an airline pilot, which is exactly what I did. I became an airline pilot, got an airline job, and then I went on, walked away from it on leave, and went back and flew fighters for, in my case, another 15 and a half years.
Mm.
Uh, because of 9/11, I could stay away. But yeah, the guard, every state's got an air guard unit. Some have fighters, some have heavies, some have drones. But it's an added capability that can fall under uh, federal authority when you're deployed overseas, or when you launch out on a scramble to go scramble somebody. You become a federal entity at that point. Um, and most of us didn't know about the Air Guard when we were young, trying to get in the Air Force, or we probably would have
Mm.
uh, pursued it more. Because the thing about an Air Guard kid going through pilot training is he knows what he's going to fly, assuming he graduates. Right?
Mhm.
When we hired a kid to go through training, if he graduated, he was going to fly an F-15. He wasn't competing for a spot. He just
Mhm.
had to get fighter qualified.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, when I went through, I didn't ever really doubt I would graduate, but it wasn't going to be enough to graduate. I had to graduate near or at the top of my class to guarantee I could get a tactical airplane. Does that make sense? There was just more. There was more pressure I felt because I had to get at the top. Whereas a guard guy, as long as he gets fighter quals and he's got to get through training, and they go, yeah, you're going to go fly a fighter, then he can go into his fighter, which is a kind of a nice luxury to have, already not having to compete for an airplane beyond just proving that you're up to the task.
Yeah, so on the card, I don't know what it's called over there. Do you have QRA?
Absolutely. And we did that. We don't call it QRA, but we absolutely did. I think our response time is classified, but it's quick. I'll tell you this:
Hmm.
when the horn goes off, in my unit, if we weren't in the air in less than 6 minutes from the time the horn went off, we would have a pretty good debrief about what went, why we weren't in the air that quickly. Uh, so, but oh, absolutely, and I did that again from 9/11 on. We set
Yeah.
alert in New Orleans, and it looked scrambled many times. What we would do in New Orleans is when I wake up in the morning, I'd shower and put on my G suit, my flight suit, my G suit, my
Oh.
helmet, and my helmet and my harness would be out at the jet already. And then usually at sunset, because we just scrambled less often at night. Usually at sunset, I would just take off my G suit, and
Yeah.
I would. I think I scrambled twice a night. I think both times I just flew it without a G suit on. I don't think that was the approved solution, but I was more concerned about getting in the air quickly than fighting with a G suit. Um, but yeah, we would sit alert. We had our alert facility was a one room that had two big recliners for the pilots and a
Yeah.
75-inch television set. And then the maintainers had another room. There's five of them. They had another room across the way. Same thing, five recliners for them. Had a kitchen, had bedrooms for everybody, bathrooms. We had command post personnel that were always on duty, and then policemen. So there was always 12 people running alert. Two pilots, five maintainers. Uh, I think I think it was 3 command posts and 2 security police. If those numbers don't add up, I'm just not doing the math correctly. But there was a group
Yeah.
of people always there, and yeah, when the horn went off, it was a pretty well orchestrated ballet. It was impressive to
Yeah.
watch, and we would sometimes visiting dignitaries would want to come in and see it, and we would do a preamble, and they would see how quickly we got in the air, and
Mm.
it was always we had a good unit in New Orleans. We get inspected every year, and we always did real well. I was very very proud of our alert. And I'll give you an example. We talk about with the guard, the guard different active duty. So one year when I was wing commander, we had deployed. The fighter squadron had gone to the Middle East, to an undisclosed location in the Middle East, and that's about 400 people gone. All right,
That's a lot. Yeah.
we've got a hurricane that's come through Louisiana, and at the time, I don't know how it is today. I've been retired for 10 years, but at the time, the governor, the adjutant general, liked to use the air guard during hurricanes, just because what my boss told me is, he goes, Deacon, when you put an airman in charge of something, he's just going to find out what needs to be done. He doesn't sit around and wait. He just finds out what needs to be done. He makes it happen. So we became victims of our own competence in that they loved having us involved in hurricane ops. Great for hurricane
Mm.
ops, not so great for trying to maintain currency.
Mm.
And so we've got fighter squadron deployed to the Middle East. We've got a hurricane 100% activated by the state. So every airman is now on orders, state orders. And then we brought alert back up, a package. It took about 60 people to rotate through alert in 3 or 4 days. I think it was our number, but we had some amount of people that the boss let me have to run alert. And so on one day, I've got overseas in the Middle East, we scrambled. There was a presidential primary going on, and one of the candidates was in southern Louisiana, and they had set up a temporary flight restriction around him. So we scrambled on our federal mission, and we had the rest of the wing was involved in state active orders doing hurricane response. And right there, I did an article on it for some magazine. I forgot who it is, but there's the purpose of the guard. All 3 missions, federal, state, and disaster response going on simultaneously for a
Wow.
fraction of the cost
Yeah.
that you can do it in the guard. I mean, in active duty, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That
Incredible.
day was looking back on it, it was a highlight. That day, it was pretty stressful actually because there was so much going on. But
Yeah.
looking back on it, I was really, really, really proud of what the airmen and the
Absolutely.
Louisiana National Guard had accomplished.